Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
You're listening to Roundtable with myself, He Young. I'm joined by Yu Shun and Ding Heng in the studio. Coming up, scrolling through social media, you've probably seen influencers promising to teach you the secrets to becoming an online star and making a fortune in just a month. But do their secret tricks really hold the key to success, or are you just paying for a shortcut to nowhere? And food has a magical way of bringing people together, whether it's celebrating the Mid-Autumn Festival with mooncakes or enjoying a Christmas dinner with loved ones. Across cultures, we gather around tables to connect, indulge, and share. But what is it about eating together that makes us feel so good? Our podcast listeners can find us at Roundtable China on Apple Podcast. Now, let's talk about social media influencers making a buck, and after getting to the bottom of it, are you willing to contribute to that buck? Have you ever come across those eye-catching ads promising you can get rich in 30 days by taking an online course from a popular social media influencer? Chances are that you've come across them online. These flashy videos, the hashtags, the bold claims of overnight success. But with so many influencers selling their so-called secret tips for growing an online following and making money, the real question is, are these online streamer courses actually worth the money? So, what do you see is happening here?
So what we can see is that recently these kind of courses on teaching people how to become internet celebrities or streamers, more directly, are being sold and are very popular on many social media platforms. You know, hashtags on Douyin, which is Chinese version of TikTok, or lifestyle sharing platform Red, such as pay 99 yuan, that's about 13 US dollars, and master short video editing, or a hashtag like from zero to hero. Master class on live streaming skills have gained national or huge attention, attracting many people to pay and get trained, only to discover that some of these courses are not as helpful as they claim. That is something that we can see quite popular because the whole industry of live streaming is growing in recent years. You know, based on data from the annual report on the development of China's internet audiovisual industry, the daily update volume of short videos on major social media platforms is nearly 80 million, with more than 3.5 million live streaming sessions held daily. You know, basically you're scrolling on your short video platforms and maybe 2 seconds there will be a live streaming platform.
And here in China, because I know it's kind of different in maybe some of the other countries, but live streaming is not just about showing you what's happening around me or, you know, in the screen right now, but it's about selling stuff.
Right.
So essentially, this is a marketing ploy. And we've talked about many times on this show, but if you've not caught previous shows, here's a quick recap. In China, live streaming is about selling stuff. And because it's all happening in real time, there's a sense of urgency. It's like when you've got this appealing social media influencer who you might feel somehow attached with, and then they're telling you to buy this now, or this deal is going to be gone in 30 seconds, and showing you how amazing this product is. And then thanks to really great digital infrastructure building, you can click on the link in that exact live stream booth or room and immediately buy the thing. And that's how it works. Ding Heng, you don't come across as somebody who might pay for the from zero to hero master in live streaming skills, but would you be interested in, you know, maybe learn a few tips about short video editing or whatnot? Actually, I wouldn't mind learning some short video editing tips. And I might even have some second thoughts about learning to become a live stream host. What do you feel about these courses?
And when we talk about these courses, when I make my own decision about whether I would learn a few tips in this regard, maybe a very important factor to think about is the pricing, how much money they charge me for me to learn these tips. Whether they are free for free, that's more often than not unlikely. But if it's 100 yuan, I will probably pay this money to
100
learn
yuan.
something. But I guess that's way more expensive than 100 yuan because the prices, I guess, ranges from a few hundred yuan to even tens of thousands of yuan in some cases. And some of the courses are disappointing to many of those so-called students or learners in the sense that they mainly focus on this kind of theoretical training rather than operational stuff, rather than practical skills. Here I can share a story I have read about from a newspaper. Last year, an influencer named Xiao Aixing from Shenyang city in northeastern Chinese province of Liaoning. She entered this live streaming industry. She started by purchasing courses from a locally well-known food live streamer for 99 yuan, only to find out that this so-called teacher was merely, reciting from those theoretical courses, the theoretical knowledge, which was not really that useful or not that friendly to a beginner like her. So basically, after that experience, her conclusion is that there were very few useful training sessions. She stopped taking online courses and later signed up for several offline training courses. And though she started from scratch, now she is boasting more than 110,000 followers. So abandoning this online course and embracing offline course, and now she has some initial success.
Yeah, that has something to do with the content, right? Because many times this kind of, career training courses, including live streaming or just video editing, may test more than just so-called streaming skills or just that kind of direct word of skills. For example, sitting in front of a camera to start a live stream is actually a very simple thing to do. Everybody can do that if you just pass that kind of identification thing. But if you want to become a professional streamer, whether you are just selling products, as He Yang said, or just streaming other content like gaming or other stuff, it may require a higher level of, professional knowledge. One example is that, being sensitive to maybe trending products. If you are selling something, knowing how to introduce products in a very lively and engaging way that makes viewers want to buy, and also even including some business and marketing knowledge. And that is what you need to learn, but not some theoretical knowledge that you need to know about the whole maybe live streaming industry. And in this internet era, the entry threshold for maybe live streaming can be very, very low, but what we can see is that the ceiling can also be very high. Not everybody can be a top seller in live streaming industry.
And in fact, most people can't become that top seller. And most people, they're living in obscurity, just like you and I, just like myself. So we don't really know what happens to them. But there were a few years, though, when I guess there was a lot of quote-unquote hot capital that poured into the industry. And also, there's something appealing about being your own boss or being in charge of your own schedule to a certain extent, that you don't need to clock in or out doing some regular office job or answer to a corporate structure, and you are basically selling stuff. You only need to connect with your viewers, and if they buy your stuff, then that's cha-ching for you. And maybe you share a certain amount, a portion of your income with maybe one of those incubator or agent people, and then that's about it. So I can see why that with this, and now it's officially been recognized as an occupation, a live stream host or a streamer, then there's something pretty appealing about it. Not only because it earns, a living for people, but also, just the nature of this job and the format of the job.
So one perception on my part is that about this whole issue is that, of course, on one hand we need training because there are specialized knowledge in those particular fields that you hope to stream about, either be it makeup or fashion or photography, etc., etc. But on the other hand, I also feel like the knowledge about those industries or about those particular fields, be it the product itself or the live streaming techniques or equipment, the knowledge about all these things can hardly be imparted by short-term online training courses alone. If you check with some experienced human resources training provider, they would basically tell you that currently there is a general lack of instructors with those very useful practical experience in the market. So
I think you raise a really good point, but also the flip side of it is, let's be real about this. Live stream doesn't take a rocket scientist to do. It's not brain surgery. You don't need a lifetime of knowledge to learn how to do this. But this is from an outsider's perspective, and feel free to disagree, everybody listening. But you need these practical skills, and it'd be really great if somebody can really show you how the ropes are done. But that might be the issue here. And online now, there are all these people sharing an opinion that these online courses of social media influencers, get rich in 30 days kind of online courses could be a scam. Do you think that it's a scam, or is it a legit online course?
That actually depends on what you need, because of course they are offering that kind of content. Maybe most of them are just offering, as we say, it is a kind of a scam because most of them are just offering a kind of whole picture of this industry and how this thing works, and not actually teaching you these little secrets of practical skills that when you need. So why I said it depends on what you need, because this actually reminds me of the popular financial courses in the past years, right? People teach you how to get into the stock market, teach you how to buy a fund, these kind of thing. For example, if you just want to spend a little money, pay attention to it. You need to spend a little money. You cannot spend thousands of yuan on this kind of courses because you don't know what you're going to get, right? So if you spend a little money to understand the industry and learn about some operational processes, and your goal is just simply to know what these things are, and then it might be fine. But if you want to become a professional investor, and in this case a professional streamer who can strategize and make decisions skillfully, then those goals are, I think, unlikely to be achieved through just a few online courses.
I'm so glad you brought up those investor courses, quote unquote courses. Let's just again think about this. If you were a successful investor, would you spend your precious time running courses to teach others how to get rich? If I were that person, I would be right now on the beach of Barbados, sipping my margarita and counting my cash.
Yeah.
Well,
no way for me to. If I know how to get rich in some
maybe
30
you're just
days,
generous
1
enough,
month,
though.
I mean, either in terms of economic boom or economic downturn period, I would say opportunities and wealth is always, relatively speaking, limited, and competition for these resources, opportunities is always intense and fierce. If I know the secret of how to become rich very quickly. Why should I share this knowledge with other people?
I might share with you, my friend, because we're friends, but I'm not sharing with strangers.
Yeah.
But there's one thing, though, and I have to admit I haven't checked the details of this, is with this social media influencer course thing. Are these social media influencers famous themselves? Can we see if it's like, these big names in live streaming and they're opening courses, then in a way their own identity, their own success story is proof that they know what they're doing? But if it's a complete nobody and saying, now I'm going to teach you how to become famous on social media and make a lot of money, then that just sounds bogus to me.
And I guess internationally speaking, there is a similar training system called the Master Resale Rights course, or MMR.
MRR?
MMR or MRR?
Yes.
MRR, Master Resale Rights. So, are they courses or are they marketing schemes? I would tend to choose the latter description because here, an award-winning author and a money expert, Janice Torrey, once analyzed in one published article earlier this year that these courses, MRR courses, are essentially multi-level marketing schemes. They seem to be very enticing, but they rarely deliver. She believes one will only make money if you repackage the same course and get your own followers to buy it. So yeah, I feel like you really need to be aware of all those hidden fee. In Chinese we call it 套路, right? This hidden strategy or a fixed strategy to try to reap money out of your pocket. On the surface, they might have delivered you something, but in the end, nothing.
Yeah, but guys, well, today all three of us were Chinese people, so we probably know the Chinese situation quite well. For the last few years, I think we've all heard or maybe even experienced ourselves that online courses have been all the rage in China. For busy and anxious workers in this country, we feel, oh, I have some free time, my leisure time. I should probably get another online certificate, or I go take one of these online courses with, they can be relatively expensive or cheap, depends on your financial situation, but often it's a few hundred or thousands of Chinese yuan, and you feel like, okay, let me beef up my skills in, let's say, Java or whatever, coding, or maybe try to see if I can develop another skill, so in case that I need to switch careers, I can do that, or maybe this skill can help boost my current career. And as you guys kind of established from the top, live stream has been seen as a way to get some extra cash, and some people, what was the number? 1 in 1,000 Chinese people are presumably someone who's a live streamer who could be a full-time live streamer or something like that. So there's people perceive it as, well, there's money to be made there. And do you think that, this online course thing is all that different from, this trend that's been going on for quite some time in China? I mean, this particular, like the live stream course thing, or maybe it's just a latest development of it, and then some of these are bad people who are using it to siphon money, but there are other courses who might have taught something valuable there.
One thing is that why these people would like to get into or just buy these courses is because they can actually see how popular these streamers can be and how much money they can get from these live streaming platforms or just rooms. When they're just selling, for example, we know that like the shopping night of China, Double 11 shopping day, people, some kind of these top streamers can get really, really huge amount of income from just only one night. And people can see that. And that's, I think, basically a lot of people seeing how and why they're trying to get into this industry because, oh, I think I can just, stand in front of the camera and do the selling thing. Maybe I'm so good at selling things to people and maybe I can be a good streamer. But what we can see is that, yes, of course, we can see this streamer is becoming officially a profession, but we need, or it has some threshold. I think the threshold for this industry naturally exists on its own, right? Any adult can start live streaming, as I said, on a platform after completing their identity verification. But if your content isn't engaging enough or your product just not attracting enough, you will naturally be drowned out in the vast sea of live streams.
Yeah, well, there's only one Michael Jordan. There's only one Michael Jackson. There's only one. I don't really want to name those names because, these days people don't know what's going to happen. So basically, survivorship bias is also in play here because we only see the ones who succeeded, the ones who survived the competition. So it's also important to sort of look at, not just the tip of the pyramid, but the vast body of the pyramid, which, might not all get all that attention. Dingheng, do you have like a final comment on this topic before we move on?
Well, very briefly, one thing I feel really uncomfortable about this kind of online courses is that they tend to create or generate a feeling of urgency and apply high pressure to back customers before the customers have the chance to really do research about these instructors' legitimacy. And if you encounter this kind of situation, be aware. Maybe that's a trap.
And file a complaint if something bad happened. Yeah, well, whether it's a family reunion or a holiday feast, meals unite us. And this is the last topic we want to discuss today. So, this makes me think of different cultures. We have the Spring Festival coming up, and all Chinese people will have a big feast. Maybe it involves making dumplings or not, depends on which part of the country you're from. And for Americans and Canadians, apparently, they celebrate Thanksgiving, and the Thanksgiving turkey, the big meal, is what gets everybody back into their family home. And then apparently, you could there's always one family relative that's making the holiday dinner difficult by making some comments that you think, my goodness, the family unites us and the food does well, and it's only family that you really cannot choose. But that's kind of off the topic. And guys, why do we eat together so that, this is a way to connect and this is the way to do things all around the world?
Well, according to a 2017 study conducted by a professor with the University of Oxford, eating meals together for humans is more often than not linked to higher well-being. This particular study asked people living in the UK's case how often they had meals with others, be it loved ones or friends. The conclusion of the study's statistical analysis is that eating with others more frequently is correlated with greater satisfaction rather in life and having more friends to rely for support. This is one study I want to cite here, and there were other studies, but so we can basically say eating together for the sake of well-being is supported by statistical and scientific evidence.
That's so interesting.
When hearing your question, He Yang, I would think, why not? That is just so natural that people will just gather together and
why is it
feast.
Natural?
Why humans are social animals. That is how I think. Of course, I don't have any biological or history evidence for that, but indeed, ever since middle school, I think, I always seem to have friends to eat lunch with. And even now, there's a term for it called 饭搭子, right? We call them companions for meals or meal buddy. This might be because of the, social aspect involved during the process of eating together. You're like communicating, exchanging information, which is something that some people may need in their daily lives. It can even be an activity that promotes sometimes mental or even physical well-being when you're just communicating or talking with people.
I think that's a really good point. And in China, we are a nation of foodies to some extent. People have very high requirement of what's good food. And if you're sharing food, especially in China, like usually, traditionally there weren't really even service spoons. You're literally using your own utensils and eating from the same plate. So I think there's something, okay, your thoughts about that might vary, but there's something about, sharing food and being close to the people who are seated at the same table, and we're sharing this thing that's precious.
And for us colleagues, I think eating together is very, very important as well. An interesting experience. If, for example, if you go to a canteen together, you say some nice words together about today's food or have some complaint about today's food.
You say nice
That's
words?
a very enjoyable experience and a very good break from your daily work pressure.
Yeah. That's also a really good point. And that brings us to the end of today's roundtable. Thank you so much, Ding Heng and Yushun, for joining the discussion. Thank you for tuning in. You can always find us on Apple Podcast at Roundtable China. And also, there are other ways to find us. Email us, roundtablepodcast@qq.com. I'm He Yang. We'll see you next time.